Don't do that. What is going on, people? It is Brian with Everstate.com, and for today's how-to video, we're going to be covering the farmer's walk. Now, the farmer's walk is an awesome way for you to build up your biceps, your grip, your forearms, your upper back, your traps, your calves. It works everything. If you want to look like a shaved gorilla, farmer's walk is where you want to be. Now that that's been said, here are some basic tips that you should probably know before you get started. All right, it doesn't get much more basic than the farmer's walk. All you do is pick up the handles and you walk somewhere as fast as you can. That's it. But just changing a couple basic things will greatly determine how much weight you can carry and how quickly you can move it. So you're gonna wanna start out standing beneath the handles with your feet directly lined up underneath your hands. Your middle finger should line up directly with the middle of your foot. At first, grip the handles directly in the center where it would be perfectly balanced. Make sure you set your grip tightly from the beginning because it's only going to degrade as the walk continues. I like to over grip the handle, then roll my hand out so my line of calluses is actually in front of the handle. This is going to provide an extra speed bump so that as that handle is falling out of your hand, it has one more bump to get over before you lose it completely. Now remember that your arms and hands are nothing more than meat hooks on this movement. You're gonna end up bending them a little bit as you start losing grip, but you wanna avoid that at all costs because the chance of a bicep tear kinda go up a good bit. You're already sticking a massive amount of stress on that bicep just to stabilize it. You don't wanna put more on it by bending your arms. Now I know I told you to place your grip directly in the center of the handle, but that's not actually where you wanna carry it at. If you are just one finger width forward, those handles are going to tilt upward, and that's going to drive you backwards when you're trying to move forward with the implements. If you're dead balanced in the middle, the implements will stay level, and that's pretty good. It's going to be easier to hold on to, but there's going to be nothing driving you forward. Now, I've set your grip one finger length back. That is going to tip the implements forward almost like you're trying to pour water out of them, and that is going to continually be driving you forward, which is exactly what you want. I know it doesn't seem like a big difference, but in a strongman competitions, the difference between 1 second and 2 seconds can be the difference between first place and sixth place. Every single millisecond counts, so you want to take advantage as much as you can. Now your breathing and bracing becomes super important in this movement. It is no different than a deadlift. You should be trying to get as much air into your belly as possible and then bracing it down. At a strongman competition, the judge always says, competitor ready, go. So when the judge says competitor ready, you should have that big belly breath, be braced, your chest should be high. As soon as they say go, you should be pushing the world away, just like on a deadlift, and taking off. You do not want to jerk these handles off the ground, and that is strongly gonna be your urge when someone says, competitor ready, go. Second someone says go, you think blast out of there. That normally leads to you jerking the handles off the ground, pulling yourself out of position, and it doesn't go well for you. Now, if you're brand new to farmer's walks or you're picking up weight that is extremely heavy to you, I would always recommend you lining up your feet directly under your hands, just like I talked about earlier. However, if you're in a competition, I would recommend slightly staggering your feet. This way, as you pick up the handles, you are actually already falling forward. As the handles leave the ground, they start falling forward, you need to step to catch it. Well, that is one extra step that you gain rather than standing all the way up, getting set, and then taking your first step. Again, if you're just training the farmer's walks to get bigger biceps and traps, you don't really need to worry about this. But if you're a competitive strongman, that extra half step is going to mean the world between winning and losing that event. You also don't want your feet too wide when you pick up the handles. If your feet are too wide, you'll need to work them in as you're walking, and that's slow. Instead, when you pick the implements up, do it with your feet close together in your walking stance, closely mimicking that. That will be fast and smooth and won't bounce you around nearly as much. Now, some people like to keep their hands directly at their sides against their legs because they feel that they're a little more stable in that position. Me personally, I try to drive forward just slightly on the handles by cocking my wrists down and locking them in place. If I keep my hands directly up against my legs, typically my thighs will unravel my thumbs from my grip and I'll lose the bar. Some people try to resolve this by using a false grip or a thumbless grip, and that is completely fine if that works for you. Everyone's different things are gonna work for different people. But for me personally, if I was hanging off a cliff by a rope, I wouldn't be using a thumbless grip. I would have my thumb wrapped, holding on with all my might, and I think of the farmer's walk the exact same way. It is nothing more than a test to see who can hang on the longest, and for me personally, I'm gonna use my thumb. I'm gonna use every single bit of my grip that I possibly can. All right, so now we're gonna move on to how to actually turn these implements, which can always be interesting. If you enter a strongman contest, they're gonna set up your farmer's walk one of 3 different ways. Number 1 is for as heavy as possible. Usually the course is about 25 feet. You're just picking up the heaviest thing possible, walking at 25 feet. If you complete the course, you get the weight. If you don't, they don't measure it, doesn't count. You'll usually get 3 attempts, just like a powerlifting meet, and your heaviest one is the one that counts. The second way that they test it is with moderate weight, typically a little bit more than your body weight in each hand. for 50 or 60 feet, moving as fast as possible. So it's a foot race. You move from point A to point B as quickly as possible. The person who gets across the finish line first wins. And the third way is typically with a little bit lighter weight and you're going for a longer distance, something like 150 feet, 200 feet, or a max distance. When you see an event like that, you're gonna have to make your turns typically at 50 feet. And turning a farmer's implement is a dicey thing. Since implements are longer and heavy, they carry their momentum. So if you don't arrest that momentum halfway through the turn, they're gonna continue going. They're gonna turn you sideways. You're gonna be staggering sideways like a drunk person walking down a hallway. It's not pretty and it's taking away time. Now, how well you come out of that turn is gonna have to be set up before you even enter it. If you pretend like you're a little kid and you're playing airplane, that outside wing is the one that you wanna be focused on. See? Airplane. Don't pretend like you never played airplane. So if you take that airplane and you bring your arms down to your side and you put heavy things in them, you have a farmer's walk. So you're gonna wanna take that outside wing and cross it over top of your inside wing before you get to the turn. As you make your turn and you're coming out of it, you're going to take that outside wing and pull it back as you're pushing the inside wing forward. The two implements are crossed, so they're going to be fighting against each other. This is going to arrest the momentum and stop that circular pattern that you're going to spin out on if you don't control it. So again, before you get into the turn, you cross the implements outside over top the inside. Then you push and pull as you're coming out of the turn, and then you're straightened out. You're welcome. It's also going to be super important for you to be bracing your core as hard as possible because you're going to be getting a corkscrewing kind of twisting motion, and tight abs will be easier to control than loose abs. Some other points to hit are that you should be rolling your feet. You should not be heel striking. The more bouncing that you do up and down, the worse off this is going to go because it's just jiggling that handle right out of your hand. I try to tell my athletes that they want to walk quietly. Like you're sneaking in your house, it's 3 a.m., you're 15 years old. Sorry, parents. You want to go clunking around. You want to roll your feet. Be silent, like a ninja. In my last career, we did a lot of shooting and moving, and anyone who is trained in that at all will tell you, if you're bouncing around, your sights bounce around, you're not going to hit anything. You want to keep your upper body as quiet as possible while your bottom half looks like the Roadrunner. If you don't know who the Roadrunner is, you need to question your life choices. But your upper body should be as still as you could possibly make it while your bottom half is just rolling along. Your shoulders shouldn't be bouncing around, your head shouldn't be bouncing around, and you should not be hearing your feet making slapping noises on the ground. If you're doing that, that's a lot of energy that's just bouncing around in there, and that's loosening up your grip on those implements. Be like a ninja, my friend. All right, so the final tip that I want to give you guys came from Clint Darden, who is an amazing strongman athlete and coach. Has an awesome YouTube channel, you should check him out. Anyway, he tells the people that you should never look at the finish line, and I 100% agree. Those weights are already gonna be breaking you down, making your shoulders round forward, making your upper body kind of collapse and suck in around itself. If you're looking at the finish line, that is only gonna exacerbate that problem. Just like a baseball player running through first base, you want your eyes focused on a point past the finish line. You want your shoulders back, your chest high, your chin neutral. You do not want to be looking down. If you look down, the body follows the head. Those implements are gonna go towards the ground. If they're already heavy and you're losing them, they're gonna end up on the floor. You're gonna be confused, you're gonna be unhappy, and now you can't blame me or Clint Darden. Thanks, Clint. Now, I recommend training your farmer's walks just like any other lift. You're gonna need a light day for speed, you're gonna need a moderate day for kind of hypertrophy and building strength, and then you're gonna need a heavy day because heavy days are awesome. So your short heavy day is probably gonna be above 85% of your 1-rep max, and it's gonna only be for about 50 feet. If you do not have a 1-rep max, this is the day when you wanna find it. I wouldn't do more than probably 8 to 10 runs because this is gonna tax your central nervous system a lot. Because remember, you're doing kind of a rack deadlift with a weight that's probably heavier than what you would normally be using for your average day deadlifts. Your second day is gonna be a medium distance with moderate weight. I would probably say between 70 and 85% of your 1-rep max. And I would probably just go 100 to 150 feet, but that's the day when you want to be working your turns. Go 50 feet, turn, 50 more feet, turn, 50 feet, that's your finish line. There you go. And then there's gonna be some days that you need to train your endurance, so you're gonna have to go really far distances. A lot of people will choose 400 meters because it's the distance of a standard track. Your weights are gonna be extremely light, but it's gonna test your mindset because your lungs are gonna hate it, your grip is gonna hate it, your upper back is gonna hate it. But it's gonna make you better. You need to train all 3 ways in order to make your farmer's walk better. Some of the best people in the world at farmer's walk never train it heavy. They just go light and for long distances. For me personally, I like to get some heavy stuff, but that doesn't mean that it doesn't work. You need to figure out what works best for you. So try all 3, add all 3 to your training programs, and you will get bigger forearms, bigger biceps, bigger traps, a thicker upper back, bigger calves. All the places where people want to get better at, but don't want to do the work for, there you go. You can wrap it all into one. Counts as a compound movement. Congratulations, you just became better. Now, if you do not have access to farmer's handle implements and you just want to use dumbbells, that is completely fine. Just know that dumbbells roll out of your hands, almost like if you're doing a double overhand deadlift. So if I say something like 5 rounds of 150 feet with your body weight in each hand, if you're using dumbbells, that is extremely, extremely heavy and very, very hard to hold on to. Body weight each hand with farmer's implement, it's kind of heavy. Pretty average though. You will hardly ever see a contest where you do anything less than your body weight in each hand. All right guys, so there you go. There are the basics for the farmer's walks. It gets much more in depth than this, but for right now, this should make you better than what you currently are at farmer's walks. Hopefully you heard some things that you never heard before, and you can give them a try to your training and see how they work. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really do appreciate all the love and all the support. You guys are amazing. Until I catch up with you next time, keep working hard, do something amazing with your lives, and I will see you later in the week.